This video was sponsored by BMA viewer Coco Pop. To support this channel and continuing to provide quality and accessible music education programming, please consider donating to the links in the description or in the pinned comment. Thank you. Known to the younger generations as the Vocal Bible, Brandy Rihanna Norwood got her musical start singing in church. She will become known in the public consciousness as Denisha Terrell in the short-lived sitcom Thea.
Grammy-winning recording star, my latest release, Denisha with a D, with Whitney Houston singing backup.
One of the earliest questions about Brandy was whether she was a singer who acted or an actor who sang.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need.
While on the show, Brandy was given multiple opportunities to show her vocal chops.
Bring me joy when I'm down.
The first thing we notice is the voice is low.
Down.
She lowers the key of Anita Baker by a third. And how a singer likes to improvise tells you a lot about their voice. When you think about child singers specifically, many like to improvise going up. Brandy's musical instinct is to improvise down. So it's no wonder when she released her debut in the fall of 1994, Ebony magazine called her the 15-year-old alto singer from next door. Whether alto is being used as a short form for contralto or in place of the choral term, music critics are simply noting that the voice does not present as high.
When people first start hearing that voice, you're this young girl. Yeah, did they expect that?
Not me, little bitty girl.
And this voice
14,
came out.
This voice came out, yeah.
My voice has been this deep since I was like 12, so.
Women who are not sopranos, such as mezzo-sopranos and contraltos, have often stated that their voices have been settled around the same place since they were teenagers. When she released her album, Brandy was 15. If her instinct is to do all of this singing and improvisation at the bottom and below the staff, there is a strong chance that she is an authentic low female voice. The two women who represent low female voices during this period were Anita Baker and Toni Braxton. Brandy's music was compared to theirs as all three will release albums within a year of each other.
Darling, darling, you know if you cared anything about love, you would have been frightened. With all my heart, I love you, baby. Whenever I'm down, I call on you, my friend. A helping hand you lend in my time of need. So I
Comparing Anita Baker's Sweet Love, Toni Braxton's 7 Whole Days, and Brandy's Best Friend, her music sits a third lower than these
Who's your
women.
mentor?
Whitney Houston.
Yeah?
Actually, I want to be Whitney Houston, the singer.
Brandy's vocal stylings on this album are also very similar to Whitney Houston's.
Yes. Trying to be like Nip right there. 20 keys lowered.
Similar to Toni and Anita, Brandy's Whitney-isms are done significantly lower. She's doing similar things as these women, but within her own voice, which seems to be a low voice. Her ability to hear things other singers do and adapt them to her voice and musical style shows her ear is well tuned. You need a good ear to do runs such as what she does and Baby.
We are alone and I'm singing the song to you, baby.
This is a simplified version of the complex runs we know Brandy to do, but this run helps you understand the various elements that can go into structuring a vocal run. Baby is in the key of B flat minor, and she used the notes of the B flat minor scale to do the run. People are impressed with runs because of how fast they are generally sung. Brandy often employs triplets in her runs. As indicated by the little 3 on the sheet music, a triplet means 3 notes are being sung in the space of 2. Basically, she's fitting more notes into less space to create the speed. Also, in her runs, Brandy uses grace notes. A grace note is an extra note added as an embellishment, and it's not essential to the harmony or the melody being sung. It's indicated by printing a much smaller note than the ordinary note, and it will generally have a slash running through it. She uses a grace note to embellish the word baby. This kind of usage of grace notes is commonly found in classical music as well. Brandy ends the run singing B flat, A flat, B flat, A flat, F, E flat, D flat, E flat, B flat, or what is known as the entire B flat pentatonic minor scale. If you are someone who likes riffs and runs in gospel and R&B music, and you wonder what scale the singer is using, the answer is generally the pentatonic minor scale.
And the winner is Brandy.
Brandy's debut will propel her to the forefront of a new R&B movement led by young people. And we can hear Brandy's influence early on when gospel giant Kirk Franklin samples her less than a year after her debut.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah.
Youth is important in understanding Brandy's vocal and musical development. The Victoria Advocate mentioned she's 16, the voice still has a youthful pitch. When people think of Brandy, they think of the sweetness of the tone. A lot of that is because she started so young and had much success with a child's voice. Brandy was adamant about remaining young in her presentation, both professionally and musically, telling the Victoria Advocate, "If I start singing adult music now, what will I have to look forward to on albums 2, 3, and 4?
Now I need everybody to clap your hands. Come on.
That is why a song like Sitting Up in My Room works perfectly for who and what Brandy represents. It's a song about a young girl fantasizing about a boy she has a crush on. Musically, it also shows what makes Brandy different from other singers. A staff of music visually represents the range of a voice or a song from top to bottom. If you see something like this, you'll know that is high. If you see something like this, you will know that's low. It is equally difficult to sustain long periods of high singing as well as long periods of low singing. because both are done at the extremes of a vocal range. People do avoid singing low notes. Sitting up in my room looks like this. Most of the singing is done on low G flat and A flat, and even sails down to low E flat. Very few women have music that stays at the bottom and below the staff, like this. There's Phyllis Hyman.
You had your fun. Don't you know I was loyal to you?
Mavis Staples.
Yonder come a little David, said I, with his rock and sleigh, said I, he's a dangerous man.
Gladys Knight.
The singer tells his story in the songs he's singing.
And Millie Jackson. Besides sharing a similar singing range as these women,
in fact, I used to love salt. My grandparents were so backwards. They thought eating salt, I was trying to do away with the baby.
My musical background comes from a grade school throughout college, high school, and junior high.
Brandy is basically in the music business, and she's singing and stuff like that. And Moesha, she's a writer.
Brandy's speaking voice has an airy quality that is often commonly found in lower voice women as well.
Somebody told me your love is grown cold.
What makes Brandy different from all of these women is these women have very big voices. Brandy doesn't have a big sound in any part of her range. But what can Brandy do that these women can't? You wouldn't ever hear these women do a run. These women communicate and express themselves with power. Some singers express themselves with high notes or volume.
You don't fall in love overnight.
But Brandy communicates and expresses herself musically with runs.
Have you ever been in love so bad?
Brandy scores her first solo #1 hit with the Diane Warren pen tune, Have You Ever? The 90s power ballad, especially those penned by Warren, were notorious for having a big, powerful high note that the singer had to nail. You can hear it in Toni Braxton's Unbreak My Heart and Christina Aguilera's I Turn to You. When Brandy's moment comes, she does this. She does a run. Have You Ever is essentially a power ballad with no power. That's not to say that Brandy doesn't have power in her voice. She embarks on her first world tour in the spring of 1999. And you'll notice when she puts some energy into the sound, it can sound like a different person.
Have you ever been in love so bad you'd do anything?
Aaliyah and Faith Evans also experienced this difference in vocal quality between studio and live performances. Like Brandy, both of those women are known for their tones, but this tone
I can't see how he could. Wanna change something that's so good. 'Cause my love is all
does not always translate into live performance.
never say, never say, never say, never.
When singing in the studio, you can sing as light as you want because you are in a small room and have the microphone and equipment to amplify and enhance the sound. But when performing in front of 10,000 people,
I can't believe they stop our happiness, but trying to pull us down with such mess. Why can't they let me live just like the rest and keep me out of all this crazy mess?
even with a microphone, that sound will not project.
Whenever I'm down,
Because then actually her singing is a little breathy.
I'm calling you now.
It wasn't that. And you have to understand they're mic'd. She didn't have to even breathe. So she's not even, the earphones, she's not even competing with anything else.
The foundation of Brandy's musical aesthetic and technique is based on keeping the voice light or lyrical.
When you listen to it, like Have You Ever, that's a beautiful song to like, it's very lyrical, it's very beautiful. It doesn't have a lot of high notes or whatever, but it gives you the opportunity to be a storyteller, which I think is her greatest gift, is that she knows how to tell a story in her music. Singing lyrically supported, not singing lyrically where you're letting too much air, where you just think you're not working hard enough and you're letting too much air come through the chords, right? Lyric singing is a must. It is a must, not only just for like technical reasons, but artistically, because you can't scream all night. You cannot yell and shout at people. No, people will stop listening. Lyricism allows you to manipulate the air, to phrasing, to give you beautiful phrasing, to really fill out a song, right? And it also saves your instrument because it's too much pressure on the chords to just be singing hard and high or too low, all night long, night after night.
I was always studying, in any case, lighter roles, but mainly for souplesse,
Classical singers often mention studying lighter music to keep the voice flexible, and many technique books mention that learning how to sing runs or coloratura is done by singing lightly and slowly adding more volume to it. Not using the voice at full power is what allows Brandy to do the runs that she's known for.
It is that going from a nuance to a forte gives you more elasticity than starting on a forte and trying to come back to a nuance. It's like life itself. It is not keeping something in reserve, but it is an outward attitude about singing and knowing your own instrument. It has to do with the talent itself and how it is taken care of, so that it will serve you well as long as possible.
Leontine Price mentions learning to sing lightly also helps keep the voice sounding as fresh and as youthful for as long as possible. The idea of keeping the voice light and youthful describes the sonic differences between her and Monica.
I think Monica is a real lower voice, and I love Monica's voice, and you don't hear no crap in her sound when you hear Monica sing. And she stays right in her range, she doesn't oversing, she doesn't undersing. And I also think the way she intentionally story tells too, it's not fake, it's not half. Everything is very like on the nose.
I don't want to make this sound so Whenever I'm down, I call on you, my friend.
They sang the same notes, but one used her voice lightly,
And that's you and my best friend.
And that is why she is marketed and perceived as a young girl. The one who uses her voice more heavily is called Miss Thang, because she sounds older than what she is, despite being the younger one between the two. The two will collaborate on the record-breaking hit The Boy Is Mine, which would spark a feud between both singers' fan bases that continues to this day. While both are respected as strong singers, many have said they prefer Brandy's tone over Monica's. This viewpoint can be seen throughout history. In Giovanni Clarici's book, Perfection in Singing, he states, a mezza voce or half-voice sound is more restful to the ear of a listener, while a monotonous forte or loud sound is tiring to the nerves of a listener.
It is a must. It is a must, not only just for like technical reasons, but artistically, because you can't scream all night. You cannot yell and shout at people. No, people will stop listening.
Throughout history, the general listening public has preferred and considered lighter voices and sounds to be more beautiful. Which could explain why Full Moon is considered Brandy's magnum opus. When you think of the moon, you think of space. Everything is weightless and floaty in space because there is no gravity.
I saw you soon as you came bouncing through the door.
Brandy's light vocal approach would lend itself to anything referencing space naturally. Full Moon is considered a blueprint for its use of vocal layering and harmony. Layered sounds on Earth, such as the wind or waves, are very light on the ears. So this theme of keeping everything light is what brings everything together. While a lot is spoken about her vocal layering and harmonies, what isn't mentioned is the intentionality in which she uses them. Even without instrumentation, Full Moon is a complete song because of Brandy's use of layers. It's not uncommon for a song to start with an a cappella intro. That's the first layer. The second layer is a riff. A riff is a repeated pattern or melody. This riff is equivalent to a bass line that is able to carry an entire song.
You turned around and looked at me, it seemed as though.
And the third layer is, of course, the harmonies.
We can dance if you want, get it cracking if you like, must be a full moon.
So the major thing that Brandy is doing here is that she's causing a lot of suspension with keywords front, lie, club, I. The D flat and the E flat is what's causing the tension there, which is why she has the D flat resolving down to C every other word.
I ain't even gonna front, I ain't even gonna lie.
So we have these words that come in on dissonant chords and these words that come in on more consonant chords. Essentially, consonant chords are ones that sound pleasing to the ear. Dissonance, there's a sense of things sounding off, notes sort of rubbing against each other. People typically like this because it creates a sense of suspense and it creates this very ethereal, dreamlike quality, especially in this key, which is B flat minor. Now, minor keys are known for having a lot of harmonic tension in them, and the B flat minor scale, da 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 da. And she already immediately starts the song with the natural form of the scale. Da 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 da.
I ain't even gonna lie.
With this particular part of the song, going back and forth, she's using the A flat major chord which is the next to last scale degree of this key, which already carries a lot of tension in it because it creates in the mind a question about where it's going, which is a perfect thing to set up for a song that's about sexual tension between her and this man who's been watching her, you know, in the club and giving her the eye. So she's using consonance and dissonance to emphasize very important words in the lyrics.
There are different ways to emphasize an important word in a phrase. Brandy does this through harmony.
Which I think is her greatest gift, is that she knows how to tell a story in her music.
When you're telling a story, you focus on the 5 W's and H. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Full Moon, the song, is a conversational piece, and if you insert yourself as the subject Brandy is talking to, then this happens. Now, it is understood that she is talking to you. You don't even want to what?
I ain't even gonna front, I ain't even gonna lie.
When and where did you meet me?
Since you walked up in the club, I've been giving you the eye.
Oh. Okay. How do you want to get to know me?
We can dance if you want, get it cracking if you like.
Oh, all right. Well, why you want to get to know me?
Must be a full moon, feel like one of those nights.
She even did the same thing on Baby. Wait, who you talking to? I'm so what?
Don't you know that you're so fine?
When you think about me,
think about you all the time.
She has experimented with these ideas of harmony and keeping everything light from the very first album through the second, and brought it all together on Full Moon, earning her the title The Vocal Bible.
But they call it the Vocal Bible. Why is she called the Vocal Bible?
If you have your Bibles with you, I got to stop here.
The Bible is a collection of sacred texts considered divinely inspired by believers and used as a foundation for religious education. For many studying singing in an academic setting, the Bible is the 24 Italian songs, a collection of songs that are not overly complicated or rangy and have been used for hundreds of years as a foundation for classical vocal education. During the mid-90s, when Brandy first appears, R&B singing is more closely aligned with gospel singing, which required singers to utilize their entire vocal range and registers. Even singers we perceive as lower voices, such as Anita Baker and Toni Braxton, incorporated octave leaps in their music that the average person would find difficult to perform. Most women's speaking range falls between low F and middle C.
First, I was singing with my mother, and I was in her act, in her club act. And then I started doing some recording here and there, and she took me in the studio and we did background sessions together.
And songs like Baby, Almost Doesn't Count, and What About Us?
Almost made you love me, almost made you cry.
The bulk of the singing is done around low F to middle C. So Brandy ushers in an era of sing-along or speech-level R&B. Because you'll notice that after Brandy, and particularly the release of Full Moon, the vocal range demanded by women in R&B music gets smaller. And you have the emergence of artists such as Rihanna, who cite Brandy as a vocal influence.
I ain't even gonna lie. Since you walked up in the club, hey Mr.
I would like to get to know if I could be
the kind of guy that you could be down for.
Low F to middle C, those same notes lie in the middle voice for a male singer.
Seems like ever since your birthday we met, there is no one else I think of.
So many men can sing comfortably in Brandy's keys.
This is what I figured out about the whole vocal Bible thing. It's because I've pushed my voice to every limit. I've done everything you can possibly imagine with my own voice.
If the Bible is a foundation for life, Brandy's music can be considered a foundation for learning what your voice can and cannot do.
Be sitting up in my room, back here thinking about you. But everybody knows almost of the town. Feel like one of those nights. Why? Baby, 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 baby. Don't you know that you're
Brandy potentially has saved many voices. Many singers from Brandy's generation and even young singers today have ruined their voices by trying to imitate the sounds of Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, and Chaka Khan. Which makes Brandy's statement, "If I try to sing like a grown-up now, what will I have to look forward to?" even more important. Unlike many other young singers, Brandy was always allowed to sing within her limits and capabilities. If you listen to her doing the same thing 15 years apart,
whenever I'm down, I call on you,
her voice has gained a depth and fullness. Singing within herself allowed her voice to become extremely rangy. The voice extends from bass low F to soprano high E flat. She possesses an almost 4-octave range.
God fell asleep on my falsetto, Lord.
Why you say that?
Because my falsetto only goes to a certain place and then, but I make up for other ways.
A lot of women who do have lower voices in contemporary or classical music talk about how they are a low voice because it was so hard for them to sing high notes and to learn to sing high notes. Can you talk about the kind of struggle that your mezzo and contralto friends go through trying to get above the staff?
Sometimes mezzo and contralto's voices, the range is higher. It's just that you can't sustain it over. That's the difference between the soprano and the mezzo, is that they can comfortably sing up in those higher registers.
You know, I have sang in every single range you can possibly think of that I'm not supposed to be singing in, because I'm not a soprano. I'm an alto tenor.
Brandy describes herself as a female tenor or contralto. Her tessitura, low F to C, supports this. How Brandy uses her voice aligns with the literature written on how some very low female voices present themselves early in development. In Guido Papora's Voice Culture and Parlor Singing, he describes a young contralto voice that came into his office like this. The length and size of the neck produce important modifications of the voice. Women with very long necks and sloping shoulders are almost always contraltos, without exception. She used a hollow tone for the lower register.
So her singing is a little breathy.
I call on you, my friend, a helping hand you lend in my time of need.
Her middle tone was very thin and prone to almost breaking. If you listen to Brandy on songs such as And Tomorrow, there's a lot of rasping and cracking around middle G to A. And while underdeveloped, the upper tones produced a thin or white tone. issue with particularly low women's voices is uniting and connecting the registers. Because many struggle to connect the registers to the lower and middle parts of the voice, the muscles are generally too weak to even connect the high range above F.
God fell asleep on my false. Said, oh, Lord.
Why you say that?
Because my falsetto only goes to a certain place and then.
It's like my strong head voice, like it's not all the way there.
I got range, y'all. Please believe. I just don't use.
Brandy will say, I don't have that register. Not because she can't sing in that range, but because it is challenging for her type of voice to consistently access that register.
Name on everybody's lips is gonna be.
Outside of growth and range, not pushing her voice early in her career is why in her mid to late 30s she was able to tackle more difficult pieces of singing, such as joining the cast of Chicago as Roxy Hart.
Oh, that noble feeling feels like.
What separates Broadway from other genres of singing is the need to project the voice over an orchestra.
Roxy, and I'll appear in a lavalier that goes all the way down to my waist.
And we see Brandy doing that. She's dropping the jaw, keeping the lips forward, and elongating the vocal tract to create a bigger sound. Many people associate Brandy with a small and light voice.
And I'm running out of things to do to get you off my mind. Who says that murder's not enough?
But when she uses it at full volume, it closely resembles something of a Gladys Knight. And she would use this voice on her most difficult piece of music, Begging and Pleading.
I'm down on my knees, it's a shame. I'm begging and pleading.
And so I'll push my voice to the limit to be like I'm singing like that. Girl, that's not your range. You know?
Brandy herself has said that Begging and Pleading is the most difficult piece of music for her to perform, as it challenges her in terms of range and the volume in which she has to sustain throughout the piece. Similarly, Gladys Knight considers On and On to be one of her hardest pieces of music for these very same reasons. Both women identify as female tenors or contraltos. The middle fifth is the note central to a piece. Most of the notes in a composition will lie within this range to keep their voice in the correct tessitura. The middle fifth for the contralto lies around D to A.
Her told you, walk out that door and you could keep your last name. I'm down on my knees in such.
Looking at the verses for Begging and Pleading, Brandy is staying between D to A. And Gladys Knight stays between D to A. So both women are staying within that same general area. Every high note and every low note that they will sing will come from this range, and they will return to this same range after singing it.
Why you make it so high?
Brandy improvises down to tenor low D.
Boy, why you make it so high?
And returns immediately to the middle fifth D to A. According to Papora, contralto singers will begin to have difficulty singing around C or D in the fifth octave.
How can I show you how?
When both women sing the high D notes, their voices begin to sound raspy.
How can I show you how?
And we can visually see that they are exerting a lot of effort to hit the notes.
How can I show you how.
So these are high notes for them. On and On has many high Ds. Which Gladys generally avoids in live performance. And Begging and Pleading, Brandy scales all the way up to high F. This line covers C to high F, and the voice is raspy throughout the entire phrase. Kapoor mentions that E or F is the absolute end of a contralto's vocal range.
I'm an alto tenor, and so I'll push my voice to the limit to be like I'm singing like that. Girl, that's not your range.
Which mirrors Brandy saying this piece is at her absolute limit. Begging and Pleading is important because it demonstrates how a minor difference can cause a major impact on one's vocal style and aesthetic.
Can you tell me why you still love me?
Brandy and Gladys sing in the same range, and they have similar limitations, but how they use their voices is very different. One singer has developed a musical identity as a light and nimble vocalist, while the other is a powerful and emotive belter more suited for ballads.
May be beautiful and yet. Whenever I'm down, I call on you, my friend. A helping hand you lend in my time.
Because Brandy did not push herself as a young singer, that is how we get a stronger and more developed voice in her mid and late 30s and into her 40s. Her voice today has not really changed with age. It's just developed a more mature sound and quality.
Seems like ever since lovers came in, there is no one else I think I'm days of yesterday, loneliness,
When you look at all the women who sing in Brandy's range, or who Brandy has been compared to throughout her career, she can best be summed up with this statement: just because people do something one way, it doesn't mean that you have to. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Until next time.